interested in real estate investing but not quite sure where to get started? Do you want to get the know-hows on creating ongoing passive income using the buy and hold strategy? Hi, I'm Janice Bowles, licensed realtor and co-founder of B Premier Ventures, a real estate development and consulting firm where we buy and beautify distressed real estate, renovate it, and resell for profit. With over 15 years of investing experience, B Premier has extensive knowledge in rural land development, fix and flips, and rental acquisitions. B Premier's current portfolio consists of properties within Florida and Virginia. Our firm's services includes investor project consulting, project management, and group coaching. For more information, visit our website at bpremierventures.com and schedule a complimentary discovery session or subscribe to our email list. It's free. Follow me on Instagram at Janice Bowles for additional real estate investing tips. B Premier Ventures, we buy and beautify.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of Let's Do It Talk Show. It's your girl, Ladrine Howard Peterson, the CEO and founder of Do It, delivering on ideas and thoughts. And you know what I do in a nutshell, right? I help to turn dreamers into doers. And I do it from two aspects. I do it from the aspect of career development, resume writing, interview preparation. You're looking to change jobs, or if you're having an issue on your job, I am your girl. And then I also do it from the aspect of business. If you're looking to expand your business, you're looking for marketing strategies, or if you just have some ideas and thoughts and don't know how to bring them into fruition, I am your girl. Here on the Let's Do It Talk Show, we were primarily created for entrepreneurs, right? Quickly, we realized that the entrepreneur was an entire person. So we talk about faith, we talk about finances, we talk about the future, and we talk about families and friends. Today's episode is going to be powerful, and I can tell you now that this is going to be part one of a series. The title of my show today is Soaring to New Heights. And the subtitle actually came directly from my guest, and it is just a kid from the gutter who made it from nothing to something. So my guest today is Rashan Clarke. But you know what I do before I jump into the show? I tell you all about my weekend. So this week and weekend, very much mixed emotions. Did my thing with my girl Sean in terms of the walking and what we do from that aspect. But I also had, moments where I that's actually my food from restaurant week. But walking has been good for me because I have been going through a lot with a lot of people. My family and friends having members who transition. So this week was very emotional, creating healing boxes, which still continues to bless people. Going out and eating with my friends, so a variation of that. So my girl Trina, we connected and had our catching up to do. But all throughout, just been going to wakes and funerals all for the past month. It's been a week. It's been a weekly thing, but this past weekend it doubled up. It was a funeral and a wake on the same day, and then a funeral. So my heart still goes out to my girl Shanae, with the passing of her son. And she was strong throughout it, but I know she's still going through. So definitely keep her, my co-host, in prayer. Sunday was able to relax a little bit, kind of like relax and enjoy myself. So went to church and met up with my friend Kristen at Char House. When I tell you all, one of the best places to eat, everything that we ate was absolutely delicious. From salmon to calamari. She had steak. Our dessert was some Heath Crunch type of something. But I ended up ordering almost every one of the appetizers to take home. Food just delicious, and the view on top of everything, very serene. Gave me a chance to just kind of like relax and get myself together. And back to school, so everybody was showing their back to school pictures. So definitely had to throw one up on my apples. So I'm wishing all of the students a safe and successful school year as they return back to school. Some folks returned last week, a lot returning this week, and then even some are returning after the holiday. So let's jump into the show. My guest today is Rashan Clarke. His story, I don't even know all of it, but the snippets in the pieces that I received, made me want to just know more about him. So today we're going to kick off and we're going to start off with the interview, which I already know that it's going to be a part two. So many people have trials that bring them down and stop them from fulfilling their mission or their dream, but some of the things that they go through actually make them stronger. And for Rashan, it is the latter. It's the latter. So I'm going to turn over and we are going to start this interview with Rashan. How are you today, my brother?
I'm blessed. I can't complain. Thank you for having me here. It's really an honor to be here. So thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you on the show. And as I said, I cannot wait to hear your full story. Just the time that I heard you talk, and then we didn't even have much conversation. It was just logistics mostly, but then we'll dibble and dabble about something. I can't wait. I'm excited to hear about your story. Relax. Take your time. We already got it geared up for part two, so no rushing with this story. We're going to take it nice and slow so that people can actually understand, know who you are, as well as try to understand your struggles and why you do what you do and why you operate the way that you operate. All right?
Alrighty, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Do it. That's the name of the show. All right, you ready? We're in gear. So before we get into the depth of your testimony, let's set the stage by highlighting pivotal points of your test, right? I want to go straight to your Facebook overview and your Clubhouse bio. That's what grabbed my attention. It reads, and I quote, just a kid from the gutter who came from nothing to something. Foster care made me stronger and struggle gave me hunger. This is God's plan. That's a whole description right there, right? It's a whole description. And what we're going to do is we're going to break that down. So let's start with the beginning. So your quote starts. It starts with just a kid from the gutter who came from nothing. These are very strong words, right? Even the use of gutter, when we know about the meaning and the definition of gutter, it is the scum, right? It is the very bottom. And that immediately grabbed my attention. So talk to me about your early beginnings and why that choice of word. Tell us your story. Tell us about Little Rashan, about before you came up. Tell us about Little Rashan.
Okay, so Little Rashawn, I was originally born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, July 23rd, 1991. Uh, you know, my father's absent, and then eventually, passed away. My mother, she was into prostitution, into selling drugs, and she eventually, passed away as well. I was in foster care, so by October 1991, I was put in the foster care system. I've been through. I was in 28 foster homes, over 12 group homes. A lot of physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. I was with the first set of my foster parents from 3 months old up until 7 years old. Pedro and Lene Ortiz, a Spanish. I grew up in Spanish culture. Um, they were arguably the best parents I had. Growing up, that's all I know.
Okay.
I didn't know coming up. I was in foster care, until about maybe 9, 10 years old is when I understood I was in foster care. Um, like I said, I went through a lot of physical, mental, emotional abuse. Uh, diagnosed with Axis 1 post traumatic stress disorder, from the abuse, from the things I went through in foster care, being
Okay.
starved, locked in
Oh
closets,
wow.
on holidays, being the only kid, sometimes one of two kids left in the group home, on holidays. So, it holiday spirit, I'm not really a holiday person. People always ask me, how come you're not into the holidays? But, it brings back memories that I was always the one, in the group home while everybody else's parents or adopted parents will come pick them up for, holidays, the weekend. Um, School was pretty much the only thing that helped me keep my sanity. That's where I felt safe at.
Mm.
I felt safe in school. Straight A student, honor roll. From first grade all the way until I finished high school. I ran away a lot. I ran away a lot. I was physically aggressive. It was fight or flight with me. You know, I got my behind kicked a few times. Just trying to defend myself against foster parents. So I couldn't really do too much when I was smaller. But once I, got bigger, I became more physically aggressive to protect myself. If I got tired at a point where I got to a point where I got tired of being physically aggressive and fighting, so I just started running away. And that's why when I say I was in 28 different foster homes, it was
Mhm.
always this foster home, avoiding abuse. People thinking that I was lying about being abused in my life until one day I went to school and my teacher name was Miss Bradley and my football coach was Mr. Brady. They was right next door to each other, and I was scared to go in the classroom, and I started crying, and I told them I was getting abused at home. I had to go to the nurse's office, and going into the nurse's office, I stripped down to my underwear and my socks, and they seen all the abuse marks on my back, my legs,
Mm.
my neck, and this is where the group home I got sent to the hospital to get checked out. I wasn't sexually molested, but they had to check all of
Right.
me, and I ended up going to a group home for emergency purposes to get me out of that home. And that's pretty much the beginning of
Okay.
the foster care, me being in foster care.
So a couple things. One of the things that you mentioned was the foster home that you were in up to the age of 7 was the best memory that you have with one of the best foster homes. I missed the point. Why did you have to leave that home?
Well, Pedro, he ended up dying from lung cancer, and
Mm.
it was four of us in that foster home, and the lady couldn't take care of all of us. So after Pedro died, he passed away from lung cancer. It was Mei Ling. That was my foster mom named Mei Ling. She was left to fend for four of us, and one by one,
Got it.
we all got placed. We all got placed in different homes or wherever we went.
Got it. So, like, straight A student, how did you manage to keep your grades up with all of the challenges that you were going through, getting abused, mentally unstable? Like, how were you able to deal with the things that went on? Like, because it impacts you mentally, and to do your schoolwork also takes capacity of your mental component. So explain to me, how were you able to manage that?
Honestly, I look. I always told myself, education. It was always beat into my head, like education is going to be your way out. And shout out to Miss Melissa and Mr. Rick. They were I was they were a set of parents that lived across the street. I went to school with their son and their daughter. Um, I don't remember the son and daughter name, but Miss Melissa and Mr. Rick, they lived literally directly across the street, and uh, they made they made sure that no matter what I ate, I had food. But they did. It was like they was in a catch-22 because they didn't want to tell anybody just in case it was backlash on me. So it was
Right.
like they did everything they could help me, like sneaking. They were sneaking, helping me like eat, you know, uh, keep myself up. And he told me, he said, Mr. Rick and Miss Melissa, they sat me down one day and was like, "You're a bright kid, and no matter what you do, no matter what you go through, just keep doing good in school. God is going to get you out of whatever you're going through,
Mm.
you know." And they promised to never expose what was going on, you know, just because for my safety. In this particular home that I was in, I was getting starved.
Wow.
Holidays, I'm locked in the basement for 2 3 days at a time. Um, but yeah, Miss Melissa, shout out to Miss Melissa and Mr. Rick, wherever they are. Um, yeah, they definitely told me no matter what, they said just keep doing what you got to do. School is going to be your way out to whatever you need in the long run. And I didn't fully understand what it meant,
Right.
but I was like, okay, no matter how bad, I kept telling myself, no matter how bad life get, just make sure I stay on point with school, because if I don't have nothing else to lean on, which I didn't, leaving the foster care system, uh, that's all I had was school. If I didn't finish school, I honestly probably would be in prison or dead somewhere.
Yeah. Well.
So, like I said, shout out to Miss Melissa and Mr. Rick if they still alive. Hopefully they are. Shout out to them because they kind of kept me going. And I met a young lady who my friend of 20 21 years now. Her name's Rachel. She lives out in California. I was in foster care with her as well. On nights and days where I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't have nothing to eat, I would get starved, or I was scared to sneak downstairs to try to eat. Uh, she would sneak me in the house. I'd sleep in the closet, because she was young herself, so I was slept in closets, under the
Wow.
bed. She took a couple beatings, for sneaking me in to make sure I was okay. So, shout out to Rachel. She's like the closest person I had in my life at that time too. So, you know,
Wow.
yeah, I just made sure that no matter what, no matter how bad life got, stay in school. I went to school dirty. I went to school with holes in my sneakers. I went to school stinking. I didn't care. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go to school, and that was gonna be my way out. I just kept it in my head, like, you know what? No matter how bad it get my education.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So I'm hearing this for the first time, and I don't know. With age, my empathetic characteristics are like way deep. So just excuse me. I'm trying not to be emotional, but it's just hard for me to even imagine, like, as you're telling your story, a child going through all of the things from every angle. And again, shout out to Miss Melissa and Mr. Rick for providing that safe haven for you. Whereas if they would have exposed you, something worse could have happened. And all of these things. And for you following their guidance, not fully knowing what it meant when it first started, but getting to that point where you realized and it got into your head, like, if I just do well, regardless of whatever going on. So shout out to them, but shout out to you too, because that's a lot for a kid. That's a lot for a grown up, but that's a lot for a kid to have to take on. And one of the things you mentioned when you were talking about some of the things that went on, you said fight or flight. So of course I smiled because of the flight portion of it, where it has a whole different meaning for you right now. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit more about this. So we're going to transition to a degree. So again, in your tagline, you said foster care made you stronger. So how did it make you stronger? How, so you just named all of these things that you went through, right? And me, I'm feeling it here. And I didn't go through it, and you're not going through it now. I'm not witnessing firsthand, but I'm telling you, it impacted me. So, tell me, how did going through foster care make you stronger? What do you mean when you say that?
Foster care made me stronger because I got to a point. I want to say about 12 years old. So I want to say about the eighth grade. Yeah, about seventh grade. I'm like seventh. So I get to about the seventh grade. at this point, I get a little bigger. I could defend myself. I learned how to fight. I did learn how to fight from Rachel. You know, uh,
Okay.
so it was like, okay, I know how to fight now. I could defend myself a bit better than what I could before. And when I really sat down and thought about it, I'm like, okay, I'm not going through abuse no more. I'm not going to go through the physical abuse. And if I don't go through the physical abuse, I'm like, the emotional and the mental abuse is going to be blocked out because now I can make my presence felt. I was a bit, like I said, I was a bit bigger. I was able to defend myself better than what I was able to before when I was smaller. And I told myself, okay, what's the point of running? There's no point. There's no need to run because if I run away, the only thing that could happen is I could potentially get placed into a new foster home with the same situation or worse. So I'm like, where am I really running to? I'm going to run away. Like, where am I running to? So I just told myself, there's no need for me to back down now. I'm like, if I'm gonna take a beating along the way, if I have to, defend myself physically to let people know that they're not gonna mess with me, then
Right.
cool, so be it. If I take an L along the way, that's okay too. But I'm not gonna get picked on anymore. And when I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I keep running away. All I'm getting is the same result,
Right.
in foster care. Okay, I'll hide out, call my social worker, look, I ran away. Then I go into court, with my juvenile dependent judge, Judge O. And Judge O, he's like, what do you want to happen today? And shout out to Judge O because he did try to grant me like better situations, but the social workers just didn't care. So, but it was okay. Well, I came to the realization that I don't have nobody to run to. So it's like, okay, we're going to deal with the problem. We're just going to deal with the problem, do my best to eliminate it so I don't go through it again. Like, who am I running to? Where am I running to? Like, to go back and get myself? Because at
Right.
the end of the day, all I had was myself at this point. And I'm like, keep running, keep getting the same result, and it may get worse. So when I say it made me stronger, physically, it made me stronger because I could defend myself.
Right.
Emotionally, I had to really understand at 12 years old, you know what? A lot of people are just not good people, and I know I couldn't grow older. I couldn't grow older to I couldn't grow older being the same way. Like, okay, being physically aggressive is not going to be the answer because the older you get,
Right.
the more severe the consequences are going to become. So I'm like, I don't want to go to jail. And like I said, school was the only thing going right for me. So at that point, I'm playing football. So that's why I took out a lot of my aggression playing
Got
football.
it.
You know, mentally, I'm a 5-time chess champion as well. So I'm like, mentally, chess would take my mind off of a lot of the pain that I was going through because I knew me looking at a chessboard and actually playing chess,
Wow.
that was my way because you have to be so focused on
Yes.
playing chess to the point that you don't have time to think about nothing else. And then shout out to Mr. Khalid. He was my chess teacher, and he helped me become a 3-time champion with him because he was my chess teacher. I was a 2-time champion before that. But he told me, he said, life is a game of chess. And he broke down the chessboard to my life. And he was like, you're a king. Eventually, you'll have a queen. And he told me the pawns are your children. But he said the pawns are your children without sacrificing. Because in a game of chess, you sacrifice pieces.
Right.
But he said, you're the king. He's like, you're the king. Your queen is gonna, be by your side. A good queen will be by your side and protect you at all costs. But he said, imagine you're a father, you're a husband, you're this person, and you have somebody that care about you, no matter who it is. It didn't matter who the queen actually was, but he was like, whoever you want the queen to be, that's who the queen is. And imagine that the pawns are your friends or your children, and by all means, you guys all protect each other.
Right.
You know, and he would every week before we played a game of chess, we spend 15, 20 minutes. Okay, what did you what did life teach you this week? And we would take
Mm.
whatever situation that I may have went through because he was at my Mr. Kyler was at my school. He was my chess teacher at school. He like, okay, what did this lesson teach you? What did you learn from this lesson? And he kept comparing it to an actual chessboard. When
Wow.
we compared it to the chessboard, that's what actually sharpened my mind mentally. Because at certain points when I was going through the stages of no self control, always running away, I was mentally weak. I was
Yeah.
emotionally weak.
Yeah.
I was physically weak. And as I got as I was learning to be a better chess player, I became a better decision maker as far as how I can impact my own life with making better decisions. So yeah, mentally it made me stronger. Emotionally, like I said, I knew that if I was going to be great or successful in any way, shape, or form, I had to stop. I had to stop being physically aggressive, but I also had to stop running. And for about 2 months, I was struggling. Like, okay, it's still fight or flight, but the more I sat still, the more I learned control.
Mm.
The more I managed to use instead of running away. Okay, I'm away for 8 to 10 hours out of the day. With football, chess, and school, I learned I was like learning how to actually gain inner peace. Like, you
Mm.
know what? I'm safe here. I'm good here. I only have to go home. Even if I don't eat tonight, cool. I don't care. I was just like, as long as I was able to just go in my room, be safe.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So that with all that stuff coming along, and I tied chess into my life. Like I said, I was also playing football, so that controlled the physical aggression. And I just told myself, okay, there's no need to there's no need to keep being physically aggressive unless I have to defend myself. There's no need for me to keep eating myself up emotionally because I know I was a great kid. Like I wasn't a kid out here disrespecting people, getting
Right.
into trouble. I was getting beat up by foster parents for being a straight A student because their son or their daughter. One set of foster parents I had. I won't say their names, but they beat me up real bad and locked me in the basement because I came home with a straight A report card.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, I'm like, okay. So they were upset. They were upset because I had better grades than their blood born child. Um, I got I got beat up. I got beat up another day because I wanted more cereal. I had a bowl. I never forget it. I had a bowl of Raisin Bran and I was eating that, but they had to rush out for work. So it was like, okay, cool. I had one bowl of cereal. Now they used to drop me off at their grandparents' house. That was my foster mom's mom and dad, Ben and Aunt May. I used to call him Grandpa. Stand up. Like I said, I give credit where it's due, no matter how bad or good the situation is. But Mr. Ben and Aunt May, funnily enough, Mr. Ben, I got over there. He was like, "Yo, are you hungry? Did you eat?" I said, "I ate a bowl of cereal, but I was still hungry. I wanted another bowl of cereal, but they had to rush out. They rushed me
Right.
out." So he's like, "Okay, cool." He used to give me whatever I want. Every Saturday that I was over there, we went to the mall, had pizza, enjoyed whatever scenery,
Okay.
and I had a good time. Like I felt safe with them, but I wasn't stupid enough to tell them either because
Right.
it's like I don't
Right.
know what's gonna happen. If I
Right.
tell them, I
Right.
might get beat up. But nonetheless, he gave me a bowl of cereal, another bowl of cereal. You let me eat as much as I want, you know. So later on that night, of course, my foster mom and her husband, my foster dad, they come back and they was like, "Oh, what did y'all do today?" Sure enough, he was like, "Well, when y'all first dropped him off, he said he was still hungry, and I gave him another bowl of cereal." So they gave me the look like, "Oh,
Mm.
so you're acting like we didn't feed you, pretty much," when it was never like that,
Right.
But he strictly told him, like he said he was still hungry, So I gave him another bowl of cereal. We went out to lunch, and like I said, we enjoyed the day. It was never a bad day with them at all.
Right.
And um, got back home that night, got beat up. Like I didn't even get dinner that night. I strictly remember like those cylinder skinny cups, long glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Took two slices of Wonder Bread. Never forget it. At dinner, they made lasagna that night, but this is why I don't eat lasagna because it brings back those memories.
Wow.
They took two slices of Wonder Bread, poured a glass of water into the cup, and literally put the bread in there and told me that was my dinner.
Oh my
And when I
goodness.
didn't, and when I didn't eat it, they beat me up that night. So it was, and that's when I got tired, and I went to school the next day. This one I was beat up real bad. I still have marks like on my back from like
Mm.
the abuse early on.
Whew.
This when I went to school, I was scared to go into class, and my football coach and Miss Bradley, it was my second grade, third grade teacher, I think. You know, and that's when I had to strip down, and
Right.
they seen all the marks. They called social services. And like I said, this is when I went to my first group home. So I went through a lot of stuff. But moving forward, I also got started at other places to the point where it was just okay. If I'm not, as long as I don't have to like fight fight my way out of this house
Right.
or anything, I'm just like cool. If I'm not gonna eat tonight, I said that's fine. I'll wait till breakfast. My teacher, one of my teachers used to bring me food. He knew my situation, but he was like Miss Melissa and Mr. Rick.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to put me in a position in the event that they couldn't get me out of the house fast enough. He
Right.
didn't want to put me in a position to you know get abused or beat up or let alone killed. Because I was able to defend myself, like I said, once I got a little older, but
Right.
I wasn't strong enough at a certain point to actually, go up against some of my foster parents who were, I know that for a fact were stronger than me and probably would have put my lights out if, you know, I thought I could even do
Yeah.
anything with them. So,
Man,
that's pretty much. But I feel like okay, I survived. I
the
survived. I could, like I said, I'm not ashamed of nothing. Me getting beat up by my foster parents. Me just being a kid. I could live with that. That's fine.
right.
But I'm like, is that the worst that can happen? And when I say like mentally, emotionally, where I truly got strong,
Mm-hmm.
I at one point I was gonna commit suicide. Because and I was questioning God at this point. Like, yo, like God, like come on. I
Eh,
thought
Can
maybe
I
at
can
seven,
I
eight
ask
years
you?
old,
Can I ask you at what age was that when you started questioning God and thought about committing suicide?
I started questioning God like around 12 because
Okay.
I'm like, damn. I thought at 7 and 8 when I was going through, getting starved early on and getting beat up by foster parents and stuff like that. I'm just like, damn. I thought that was it. Not because everything else. Like I went through a couple more foster homes between 7 and 12. I was probably in like 8 or 9 foster homes from 7 and 12 at that point after my first at the Pedro passed away and they moved me out of the house.
Right.
I was in like probably like 8 different foster homes between seven and
Mm.
12, and I'm like, okay, they got me out of the place where I was beat up real bad
Right.
just to go into other situations and just for me to still go into other situations. And I was getting starved. Like I said, the beatings and stuff that I was getting wasn't as severe as it wasn't happening as often as it was when I was 7 and 8. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But
Wow.
then one day, like I said, I got beat up. I got beat up so bad, and I'm just like, yo, God, like what did I do to deserve this? I thought 7 and 8 years old, I thought that was enough, And then Pedro, like that was my heart, I said shout out. They were Puerto Rican people, great stand up people, took care of me, protected me by all costs. But I'm like, damn, you already stabbed me in the heart once, like
Wow.
with losing him, stabbed me in the heart twice with going through what I was going through. Because everything, I feel like my life went to hell after Pedro died. My life just went to complete hell. And I'm just like, well, God, what did I do to deserve this? Like, I don't survive getting beaten up by foster parents. I don't survive. I don't survive the nights where I didn't eat.
Mm.
So I'm still trying to do right. I'm still in school,
Right.
trying to hold on. Like I'm like,
Straight
what more do
A's.
you want me to do? And then it was more so, and the people surprisingly, this is a reason why I don't go to church. Like I believe in God by all means, but I the people that was starving me and beating me up real bad when I was 7, 8 years old, they go to church. So
Wow.
I'm like, God, like what, like yeah, what did I do to deserve this at this point? And then um, at 12, I was in a foster home before that. I was in a foster home before I turned 12. Name was Mr. Jimmy, Mr. Jimmy and Miss Alice. I'll never forget, I'll never forget them. Mr. Jimmy, pretty stand up guy, straight lace, Marine, you know, and he was a good guy, but the problem was I was only there temporary. So now it's like, okay, I'm in a group home now. They put me in a group home from Mr. Jimmy House. They take me to a RTF. For the people who don't know what an RTF is, it's a residential treatment facility. You know, they deal with psych evaluations, IEPs, and going to certain schools and things like that. And I'm in the group home. I'm doing what I have to do. I was there for 2 years. I was in this group home or residential facility, treatment facility for 2 years. Now, everything is going good. They're like, yo, we set up something. My social worker came to me and said, we set up something where Mr. Jimmy can be your legal guardian. Like, we can place you back there permanently, not temporary.
Okay.
Okay, yes. There we go. I'm happy. They like, just give us like 3, 4 months. Give us 3, 4 months of consistent good behavior, and you had to do 3 visits. You had to do 2 visits for it was like 2 visits where you just go from like Friday to like Saturday. Your final visit, you had to have a successful visit Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Pick you up Sunday night. That was it. The next time you would have went home, that would have been when they're discharging you. Christmas. This is why I don't celebrate holidays. I'll never forget it. Mr. Jimmy never lied to me ever in his life. You know, whenever he said he was gonna come get me he was gonna come get me, or whatever, or come visit me rather. He always did. 23rd, December 23rd of 2003, December 23rd of 2003. Mr. Jimmy was supposed to come pick me up, and I was supposed to spend Christmas vacation with him. That was supposed to be my last visit, my last and final visit before they discharged me to him in January, right after New Year's. Mr. Jimmy was never late. He was always on time, on point, never shows up. I honestly felt, I'm like, something happened. Mr. Jimmy, I'm like, I didn't want to believe that Mr. Jimmy would ditch out on me like that.
Right.
And I'm like, I just started crying to my therapist. I'm like, yo, I'm like, something happened to Mr. Jimmy. I'm like, he would, I know he would never do this to me. And probably about 7, 8 hours later, like he never showed up that day. I get woken up 3 o'clock. They bring the staff. They had to bring like 4 staff into my bedroom because they woke me up like 3 o'clock in the morning on December 24th of 2003. And one my favorite staff actually talked to me because whenever I got upset, this staff actually kind of helped me keep my composure, like from you know
Acting
going
out.
off the wall.
Yeah.
And she told me her name was Miss Vanessa, and she told me that she like Mr. Jimmy. They found Mr. Jimmy dead on the couch, like he passed away in his sleep, and it didn't register to me at that point. And I was just like, nah, I don't believe that. I'm like Mr. Jimmy gonna show up. I'm like, he gonna come get me. I'm like, son, he didn't pass away. He's gonna come get me. And probably about like 10 o'clock that morning, I flipped out. I lost it. I was like, nah. I said he's really gone now. Like he's really gone.
Wow.
And
Wow.
from that point on, it was like I'm like, God, yeah. Like, I was contemplating suicide because I'm like, God, why everything I love, why do you manage to take it away from me? Like why is it every time I actually find somebody that love and care about me or something, you take it away. And that's how it was in foster care. In foster care, it's luck of the draw. I tell people, foster care honestly is like foster care is honestly like going to the casino. You play poker, you play blackjack. You don't know what kind of hand you're going to get. You're going there with the intent. You're going to the table or into these foster homes with the intention to be lucky. Get a family that care about you, that love you, that's going to accept you for who you are, that's going to help build your character, help build your morale, teach you morals and everything else. And it was like I kept breaking. Like poker hands, I was just I was losing. I get I get a pair, I lose on a flush. I get a flush, I lose on a straight flush. I get a straight flush, I lose on a royal flush. It was just crazy. So yeah, when Mr. Jimmy died, that's definitely when I just like I almost committed suicide.
Wow.
I
Wow.
had I I never forget it. I had took the nurse had a cart in this group home. That's where she kept all the medicine. Of course, me not knowing any better, I just took the first bottle that I could take when she was going around giving people medication or whatever. I just took the first bottle that I could take. I flew out the door with no shoes, no socks on. It's winter time, blistering cold, and I just took the bottle. And I was hoping that I died. Like I was like, you know what? Like this can't be life. And mind you, I'm 12 at this point, so I'm like this can't be my life. Everything that I love, like God, you taking it away from me. So that's where I began to question God at that point. Like, okay, maybe if I end it, it'll end all the suffering. It'll literally end all the pain.
Wow, wow, wow. And just to one of the comments from Reverend Dr. Sharon Y. Holly. Hey, Reverend Doctor. One of the things she said is he is truly an amazing young man. Thank you, God, for keeping him. And as she went on, my Lord, truly I thank you for keeping him. And Michael Robinson says, you're a good dude, bro. So yeah, story very deep in terms of all of the various things that you gone through, and I can definitely understand your statement. One of the things I did want to circle back on was the three elements: the physical, the mental, and the emotion. How you broke that down, and how you was taught chess to get through that and to use it as an analogy, and how the strategy from that helped you throughout life. That's like extremely deep. I mean, like, when I say deep, it's extremely deep and powerful, because a lot of people, a lot of people grown up have a problem managing certain situations and being able to maneuver through issues by using analogies, and your teacher, phenomenal concept of bringing it back to that, bringing it back to that, because that's how you were able to master not only from the aspect of your chess game plan, but also from the aspect of life. And then you telling yourself um, about the starvation part of you dealing with that to get through that. I can deal with not eating, right? I can deal with not eating, but the physical had begun to get to you, and that's where you got yourself stronger. Now, that whole concept, and I'm not going to linger on it, but I just want you to know that whole concept, you could teach a life class on that. That was very powerful and very deep, how you took your pain and turned it into positivity, and to use it as a guidance where it allows you to develop a level of self-control and self motivation, self all of these things internally, from a game of chess. From a game of chess.
I'm sorry. Go
I,
ahead.
I know you working in your truck and trying to set up everything and trying to get your situation right, so no problem at all. So my next question. So we talked about how foster care made you stronger. The another piece of your line is that it brought you hunger. So how did the experience and the struggle bring you hunger? So you talked about how you knew this was education, school was your only way out, right? And in order to do that, like you couldn't take the hitting, so you got yourself physically strong, and chess helped you emotionally. So anything else in terms of that concept of the struggle brought you hunger?
Yeah. Like when I used that line, it brought the struggle brought me my hunger because it was like I know one thing for certain. I knew I didn't want to end up being any of those people that physically, mentally, or emotionally harmed me, or had damaged me at certain points,
Mm.
and I always thought about it. I mean, I was, like I said, at 12 years old, I'm like, okay, I'm at an age now where I have to figure out what I want. I'm about to go to high school.
Right.
My birthday's in the summer, so I'm 13. Going into my freshman year, I'm just like, wow, I have to figure out what I want to do. Like school is going to be my way out, but what's the plan? Like, so I was always in love with transportation. I was always in love with because I used to get starved. I always told people, you know what, I'm going to be a personal chef. I was
Mm.
playing football too. So I had four things I wanted to do. Well, three realistic goals, but four was me playing in the NFL. I looked up to Marvin Harrison,
Okay.
uh, and and Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson in Houston, he would on around Christmas he spent about $10,000-$20,000 every Christmas on kids in foster care or who
Mm.
were less fortunate, and he was a great football player. And his best friend got killed, and he just took care of. Andre Johnson ended up taking care of his best friend's son when he passed. Marvin Harrison, like I said, I was a great football player as well, and that's what I wanted to be like as far as playing. But as
Right.
far as the kind of man I wanted to be, I looked up to Andre Johnson. He's my all-time favorite wide receiver, and he's my role model. I'm like, okay, NFL is not really realistic for me. I'm like, what is it? I'm like, me getting starved all the time. I wanted to make sure, like, you know what, I'm gonna get rich. I'm gonna make a lot
Mm.
of money, and I'm gonna open my restaurant, and I'm gonna feed the homeless,
Mm.
like free. I'm not gonna charge nobody.
Wow.
I'm not gonna charge a homeless person to eat. Because there's people that be in homes that be just as homeless as the person out on the street.
Right.
And it's not
Wow.
talked about enough. You know, the mistreatment of people in general isn't talked about or emphasized enough. So because there's a homeless man on the street, oh, but you also had a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kid that was
Mm.
living in a house, and I was going through the same thing as a homeless person or a homeless woman on the street. So I told myself, if I become a personal chef, and I was a fan of Alicia Keys. I love her music. I said I'm gonna be a personal chef for Alicia Keys or a personal chef for Andre Johnson. I'm like, they'll pay. I said they got money. They'll pay me enough, to so I could cook for them and I could open my restaurant.
Right.
And I would that's where the culinary arts came from. Truck driver, I'm by myself where I have time to develop game plans, put things together, have my piece, really figure out, like learn different cultures, travel to different places and things like that. So I'm like, hell, I was always on a move all through the country in foster care. I lived in Philadelphia. I lived in New Jersey. I lived in New York. I've lived in Houston. I've lived in California. I've lived in Tennessee. I've lived in Massachusetts. I've lived in Missouri. So it was just like
So the
traveling.
I'm sorry. So foster care moves you to these different places. Like it's not where you locally and you go to a local home. You move to all these different places out of states in foster care.
hmm
Oh wow.
Because
Okay.
what foster care try to do is the, depending on a child's situation, sometimes they'll literally move you away. Like, they'll move you away to try to refocus you. And then a lot of
Okay.
times, like I got sent to boot camp. I got sent to boot camp twice. So I was in boot camp twice. I got sent to boot camp in upstate New York. I got sent to boot camp in upstate Pennsylvania. But sometimes foster care will move you close to family, or they'll move you away depending on the severity of whatever
Got
the
it. Got it.
situation is.
Got it.
Right. So I was okay. I said maybe traveling won't be so bad. Maybe I can learn this, that, and the third from meet new people, new culture, different environment, and see what works.
Right.
The pilot
So
the
so
pilot thing.
hold on. I'm gonna pause you for the pilot, right? I want to jump into that, but I want to finish off the last line of your no. Let me say this. We can talk about it later, but I want to fulfill your entire statement. So as I started off, your quote is just a kid from the gutter who came from nothing to something. Foster care made me stronger and struggle gave me my hunger. But it's that last part. The last part said, this is God's plan. So for me, this is God's plan was the most powerful portion of your bio because all of the things that you went through and even the time when you had given up on life and wanted to die and kind of like giving up on God, you still managed to press your way through. But I wanted to mention that part to close out your quote, but let's go ahead and transition into the pilot. So you were touching upon the pilot. So let's talk about what age did you want to become a pilot, and you kind of talked about transportation in terms of just moving around and about, but at what age did you want to become a pilot, and what excited you about being a pilot or the thought of being or wanting to be in that type of atmosphere?
For me, honestly, it was around the same time I wanted to be a personal chef. Like personal chef, truck driver, pilot, all that came because when I think about certain things as far as life goes, it's always like anywhere from 3 to 5 things, and I'm like, okay, and I'll just like I said, what's the three realistic things that can happen for me? So it was all around like 12 going on 13. So that's about, give or take, 2004, 2005. I was like, yeah, it'll be one of these three, or it'll be all three, some way, somehow. What intrigued me about it was my middle school graduation trip, and it was to Orlando, and this was my first flight ever. This is when American Airlines was U.S. Airways.
Mm,
For people that was flying back then,
right.
this was my first flight on U.S. Airways going to Orlando, and I'm in the airport. I see the pilots. I see pilots walking around, communicating with people, and my teacher wanted to like meet the pilots, and so did I. So he was like, all right, come on, come with me. And the flight attendant let us, meet the pilots. The pilots were talking to us, and I told him, I was like, I think I would want to do this. And he was like, well, you can definitely do it. It's fun. You get to travel different place every night.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, different place every night, huh? And he was like, yeah. He's like, they pay for your hotels. You meet new people, and I was like, oh. So then the fascination of actually meeting Andre Johnson or possibly meeting Alicia Keys. And I was like, well, he's a football player. She's a singer, so she's always going to be traveling
Right.
somewhere.
Right.
I'm like, and I'm like, what are the odds of it? I said, I don't know, and I don't care, but hell, why not? And then as I'm in the air, taking a 2.5, 3 hour flight, we were flying from JFK out of New York City.
Okay.
Like I seen how therapeutic it actually was.
Mm.
So I'm like, I felt it's like I felt so peaceful up in the skies. It's like I felt like all my problems that was on the ground in the air. You don't really have, whether you're a pilot or a passenger, you don't really have time to think about that. And it's like I always game plan. I was always game. I found myself game planning more when I was in the air. You know, I felt more at peace mentally, emotionally, physically, not a worry in the world. You know, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be something I want to do. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, how I'm gonna accomplish it, but I'm gonna do it. And that's how I pretty much wanted. I came up with wanting to be a pilot.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So what we gotta do? We gotta pay some bills, right? So we're gonna go to commercial real quick, and I'm gonna shout out my sponsors, and then we're gonna come back. So let's go to commercial really, really quickly.
Are you interested in real estate investing but not quite sure where to get started? Do you want to get the know-hows on creating ongoing passive income using the buy and hold strategy? Hi, I'm Janice Bowles, licensed realtor and co-founder of B Premier Ventures, a real estate development and consulting firm where we buy and beautify distressed real estate, renovate it, and resell for profit. With over 15 years of investing experience, B Premier has extensive knowledge in rural land development, fix and flips, and rental acquisitions. B Premier's current portfolio consists of properties within Florida and Virginia. Our firm's services includes investor project consulting, project management, and group coaching. For more information, visit our website at bpremierventures.com and schedule a complimentary discovery session or subscribe to our email list. It's free. Follow me on Instagram at Janice Bowles for additional real estate investing tips. B Premier Ventures, we buy and beautify.
Welcome back to the show. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Quickly running through a couple things. If you are not already following us on social media, please do. We are Let's Do It Talk Show on all platforms. That's our IG name. That is our Facebook page, as well as our YouTube channel and our website. Please make sure that you follow us on all of the different platforms. Couple things going on. So the We All Heal Differently book journal, as well as the We All Heal Grieve Differently, those are doing great with Amazon. So thank you all for everyone who's continuing to support us. I did not imagine that it will be at the point that it is. And for me personally, I am finding it a pleasure to be able to give out these healing boxes to my friends and loved ones, and also to fulfill the orders of those who are struggling. Um, Fanning Financials, Sakaja with Fanning, who is one of the co-hosts, she is ramping up for classes and ramping up for information sessions. So she'll be here the second week of September. But make sure you all are following her following all the things that's going on, she has been a tremendous impact to me and a couple of my personal friends in terms of helping us in this trying times, as you don't know the instability of what's going on, but she's been able to knock it out the park. And then last but not least, the climb. So everything is all coming together. Got my forward, all the other pieces to it. So we're gonna be actually finally putting something out, and I decided to make it coincide just before my 31st anniversary. So excited about those. So we're gonna jump back into the conversation shortly, but as I already told you all, it's gonna be a part two to this. Story just powerful, and I didn't know all of the different details to it, but just the things that I knew, the outshell of it. I'm so glad to get to know Rashad more and to learn more about his story, his hunger, and also his drive. Rashad.
Thank
So
you.
getting back to the story, one of the things that I want to do, and actually we're gonna do part two, so I'm gonna close out with this question. So as you talked about that excitement in your eyes and in your gut as the pilot was explaining all of the variations to you and all of the information to you, finish up the story. I kind of cut you off right there, but finish up the story in terms of that, and then on the next portion we'll talk about your favorite, your least things, anything else, and also close out by telling everyone how they can reach out and connect with you for those who have platforms and they're looking to interview people with backgrounds like yours, or even to be a motivation to young kids to never give up their dreams.
Okay, so you wanted me to finish explaining about what made me want to be a pilot?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Like I said, I felt like okay, I don't have time to worry. I feel like when you're in the air, whether you're a passenger or a pilot flying the aircraft, you don't have. I just feel like you don't have time to worry about whatever's going on the ground. You're already in the air. You're away from it all. That enough should be, peace.
Mm.
And I was able to just zone out. Look out my window. I don't see any kind of human life in the air outside of the people that's on the plane. But looking out, it's like, okay, well, and I felt like that was my time to like talk to God, and honestly ask for forgiveness, and I asked him for forgiveness at that point, so I'm just like, damn, you know what, God, I tried to kill myself, and that's not like you still kept me here, even though I wanted to end it.
Yes.
Forgive me for being silly and ignorant, because that wasn't your plan. Your plan, like, it has to be something bigger and better, since you kept me here after I swallowed all those pills, and my
Uh-oh.
AirPod fell off. But I was like, it has to be a bigger plan. You must have something. You kept me here for a reason. I swallowed over like 13 pills, and I'm still here. You helped me triumph through the abuse and everything else. And I just feel like when I'm in the air, that's my time to talk to God. I could focus on what I'm actually doing, and I could still talk to God, while I'm up there. So
Yes. Yes.
and that's when I was like, yeah, I'm like, this is my ultimate goal. Like I belong in the air.
Mm. And I love that. So, you don't know this about me, but I love to travel, and more so by plane. It's some, when I'm in the air. First of all, I have to have a window seat. And when it is, I'm not the
Exactly.
pilot, but I'm looking out the window all the time. The clouds do something for me. I take pictures of the cloud. Every trip I've gone on, I have pictures of the clouds. It was one trip, and I believe it was when I was coming back from Hawaii. And I also like to see the sunset and sunrise. The sun, I saw the sunrise in the sky, and that was like heaven to me. So I can only imagine your view, and you get the front, the not the first class front row, but the negative one, positive negative one seat, because you're always in the front. So I can just see you looking out and how good that makes you feel. So we're gonna have a part two, definitely. But I wanted you to share your contact information and any last word for this segment. Here, any motivational, inspiring word to anyone, kids, grown up, or anyone.
Okay. I have Instagram. My Instagram name is future pilot underscore 713. That's future pilot, the underscore symbol 713. That's my Instagram. My Facebook is Rashan Clarke, RASHANCLARKE, Rashan Clarke. That's my Facebook. Clubhouse. Um, my clubhouse name is Pilot Clark. Uh, and as far as my message to kids coming up in the foster care system, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to go to somebody, a higher up, to ask for help. I don't want nobody trying to commit suicide. You belong here. You always have a chance. As long as you have breath in your lungs, you always have a chance. You know, every day that you wake up, thank God for waking you up, and always try to be better than the day before. There's always room for improvement. Even the great ones, the successful people, are people that you think are more fortunate than you. Trust me, they everybody has a story. But what's going to be your story? Um, and never let anyone down you mentally or emotionally. Because you're special. You're God's gift. God had you here for a reason. So live your life. Be happy. Don't try to fit in. Write your own story.
That's it.
Always push to be great. Don't can't pray for rain if you don't expect the mud too.
Come on now.
Just know, like, if you pray for rain, the mud is gonna come too. But once you make it out the mud and the rain start falling and you see that rainbow and the sunshine, you'll look back and realize that it was all God's plan. It was worth it.
Amen.
Everything you go through, it's part of God's plan. Just keep
Amen.
pushing the stone.
Amen. So I just got to read Reverend Dr. Sharon's comment, and it says, truly amazing young man, and has a testimony that can help so many. God's continued blessings to you as you take the deck of cards you were given and allow God to continue in the miraculous work He's doing in your life. So I just felt like it was necessary to read that to you, and my sentiments to you as well. Looking forward to speaking to you in the next episode, and we'll finish out your story and bring you up to exactly where you are right now. So thank you so much for being my guest today, and looking forward to the next episode as well.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. I'm also open to anyone else who may want me to be a guest on their talk show or podcast. I have my information, phone numbers, social media. I don't mind being on the talk show, spreading the word, or doing anything. So thank you for having me. It's been a blessing, and I truly appreciate it. Until next time.
Absolutely. Until next time. Woo! So thank you all again for tuning in. Powerful, powerful show. I don't know when I turned into a crybaby, but oh my goodness. very emotional show. But I'm so excited about where he is now. I did not know the full story. So you never know someone's story, and you never know what someone is going through right now. So closing, please again make sure you follow us if you are not already doing so on all of our social media platforms. We are Let's Do It Talk Show. That is our Instagram, our Facebook group, as well as our YouTube channel and our website. Looking forward to new things happening this fall with the show. So please make sure that you stay tuned. Excuse me, upcoming guests. Well, you know who's coming up next, right? Rashan is coming back. We already anticipated that it will be a part 2 for this. And absolutely. So we're going to be having part 2 coming up. And then we have Money Making Monday will follow that. Saka Jawed has some great and exciting things that she's working on. Our dear Shanae will be back, and along with our balling Janice Bowes. And then I have a lot of series that will be coming up. I'm focusing on this thing of beating the odds. So if you have a testimony or you went through a trial and you beat the odds, please contact me. Reach out to me through any of the social media I am messages or back channels so that I can connect with you. Tremendous stories and tremendous testimonies that I have been coming in contact with, and I decided that I wanted to use my platform to give them exposure, not to focus on what they went through, but where they are now, to let people know that despite your beginnings, despite the trials that you go through, that God will keep you and see you through. So that's all I have. Again, rest in peace to Jawan. And rest in peace to Leon, who is my friend's brother. That was another funeral that I went to, and all the other funerals that I went to. So, y'all be blessed. Live every day to the fullest, and I will see you all for the next episode. Peace.